Hey guys, welcome to Kidmissing TV. I'm your host, Angelina Wilson. This is the case of 3-year-old Jason Cannon, who went missing on March 15th, 1983. They have said, the divers said, there's no way he made it to the canal. And it was said, and I quote, a 3-year-old doesn't wander off and raise themselves. Police believe this was an abduction. They are doing forensic genetic genealogy. I think maybe they have family DNA because they said they don't have his. So they're seeing if either a doe or a living person that did DNA pops up, that maybe he was raised. So that's an interesting use of forensic genetic genealogy. It was a major search, including a dive team. But like I said, the dive team said, all 3 divers agree, quote, in my opinion, and the other 2 divers that are with me, there's no chance at all. We really don't feel that he went into the canal after making our search. He continued, judging from all the brush and some of the deep holes, we don't see any way he could have gotten any farther. There was a gray vehicle that was driving, quote unquote, aimlessly in the neighborhood. I think, or near his complex. I think what that means is maybe it was kind of driving back and forth. It was driving slow and looking around. There could be a nefarious reason, or there could be an innocent explanation, like trying to figure out what apartment my friend lives in. If it's a big complex, they might have been driving around, and they didn't have a cell phone to call their friend and say, okay, I'm lost. Which one are you in? So it could be that, or it could have been the kidnapper. We don't know. And he went missing 3 years before the first DNA evidence was used in a case in the United States, which means it was used in 1986. That means I was 12 years old. And they reopened the case this past year to use the genealogy. Detective Jagosh said, we're not going to give up on Jason Cannon's disappearance, and we're going to work it until we either find him or we never find him, I guess, said Detective Jagosh. We need the public's help to generate leads, he continued. They recently solved a case from the same year using forensic genetic genealogy. So they have hopes of being able to tell the family what happened. Okay, he disappeared on March 16th. Now, some say he was 2 and some say he was 3. I think his birthday was right around the time that he disappeared, and that's where the discrepancy comes. Let me see. His birthday was 5/7/80. Okay, so he hadn't turned 3 yet. Was 2 months shy of his 3rd birthday. Okay, that's what I thought. That's why some say 3 and some say 2. Had he been raised, he would have turned 3 2 months later. And they absolutely believe it was a non-family abduction. They searched everywhere, and they still don't know where he is. I think because of his age, they think he might have been raised, and therefore his DNA might pop up when they put the family's DNA in. Maybe he took a DNA test. You would have thought somebody he matched that knew his immediate family, if he matched a cousin or something, would have called and said, I think I found Jason. I would. If I had a cousin that had been missing since 1983 and he popped up in my DNA matches, unless he popped up under another name, which is likely. But you'd see in your through lines, or whichever service you use, although not really on FTDNA or GEDmatch. They don't do that. So it would be harder for you to realize it. But if you're on Ancestry or MyHeritage or even 23andMe, I believe they have ways of sorting your matches. Sure wish the other two did. They don't really. It's very confusing to me. They just have a list that goes from the most DNA to the least, or whatever. Most CMs to the least, basically. Which is hard. You need to be able to click on it, see your shared matches, all of that, and be able to figure it out that way. So hopefully someone in his family, beyond just his siblings and his parents, if either are still alive, which very well they probably are. He was only 3 in 80. He was born in 80. So his parents would be in their 70s now. I was born in 74. My mother would only be 71. My father would only be 81. So, and his parents would likely be a little bit younger than my parents. Even if his mother was the same age as my mother. In 1980, my mother was only, 26? Yeah, I was 6. She was only 26. So, his mother could be my mother's age or a little younger. She could be in her 60s. I know I use my parents for reference a lot, I know it drives members of my family crazy. Believe me, I've been through it. But my mother and my father are my greatest reference when it comes to certain things, and this is one of them. Now, my father was 30 when I was born. My mother was only 20. So my father would have been 36. Still could be alive. So they haven't said. They just say for Jason's family. So obviously he had siblings. Maybe he had older siblings. Maybe his parents were closer to my parents' age. I don't know. These articles and stuff did not really interview his family. Maybe the police requested that they didn't. If you have any information in the case, and by the way, before I give you the number, I hope that my explaining the ages helps you understand how these people could be alive easily and should be. So, I mean, I know people who are 90, so, and are still very much alive. So, anyway, I know a lady who's 95. My great aunt was 101, so you never know. Anyway, if you have any information on this case, you can call Crime Stoppers of Southwest Idaho at 208-343-COPS. 208-343-COPS. That's 2677. 208-343-2677. Or go to www.343cops. COPS. That's www.343cops.com. Oh boy. Guys, I really want to see this solved. I want to see all of my cases solved. And I will keep you updated, of course, as they go through the forensic genetic genealogy. And I will keep you updated on other cases that are going through the process, including the Vintage Park doe. They're having a tough time with her case because they have found that she is Middle Eastern. And they have narrowed it down to which countries are her ethnicity. But not a lot of people from those countries are taking DNA tests. So I would encourage people who are of Middle Eastern descent, who live in the United States, to take a DNA test. I know you're fearful. I can't even imagine the fear that you have, especially since 9/11, to allow police to use your DNA or anything like that, because what you've been through is horrible. This was before that, though. This was in the late 90s. But anyway, it's just another example of forensic genetic genealogy and the frustration with it when it comes to certain ethnic groups. There aren't as many people, indigenous peoples, and peoples of Middle Eastern origins, and other peoples that take the tests. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you, and I will see you Friday. Bye, guys.